Hello and welcome to Sim Strategy Gaming. I'm Sim. In this episode, I would like to show how I set up lines and lay tracks. Of course, there is no right way of doing this. Railway Empire 2 is a sandbox game, open world, but I found a way that I find particularly useful, building economic circles, finding clusters of cities to um, bind together with tracks, and then set up warehouses in between these economic zones so that they can interchange goods between them. And now we find ourselves in the very early 19th century, don't have access to all that many nice locomotives, so tracking power is very important. Looking at the incline, taking that into account, using this GNM American being the best train that we have access to, which can kind of low speed but not so bad tracking power. And then we use the Firefly, which has a little bit better speed but very low tracking power, so it can only be used for passenger trains. Um, the way that I'm thinking now, looking at the map, find ourselves in on the big European map, so you have access to all of these cities. You're not going to build each and every one of them, but going to make 3 zones there. You see we have Paris as our starting city, and we will make zone here to come, down to them, perhaps excluding Nantes, and then what we will go to Tours and Orléans, and then build another zone from Paris, Auxerre, perhaps also including Orléans, that, yes, and then down to Lyon, Nancy, up to Reims, and to Paris. And a third zone, including Paris, Reims, also taking Brussels, and including it's important that these zones are as circular shaped as possible, because we need not only to connect the resources but also make sure that all of the passengers are connected, so that there are no lines that are between the cities that are more than twice the air distance. That is very important to maximize the amount of passengers that will travel by our trains. First of all, what we're going to do is to set up these um, stations, and we will always build so that they are outwards. And we can see now here that this sort of crashes in here, and I cannot have all full 8 stations. But if I build this once and then expand the allowed region a little bit, now I can have a full, and then I would just demolish the first one like this. And now for the next resource up there, see that this goes sort of nicely, yes, and then into come like this, and then further on I can set up a station here. Perhaps it's very important to see that these stations, placing the stations might be the most important thing, because that makes for the smooth, nice curves that we need. So build it like this, and I will lay 6 parallel tracks so I can set up 3 different types of trains, using both the having one express line in each direction and having one mixed line and one passenger line here. Then should I also include this one here? No, I think I'm gonna skip one of that. That only goes down to Orléans, and only Orléans means there's a rather big docking station later on for that purpose, I think. Placing this like that. Okay, now I think I'm gonna include that one as well. See how that goes. Now I'm getting this kind of warning here that I can only travel with 38 kilometers max because this is too sharp, this incline. This can be not incline but curve. This can be corrected by dragging the curve out a little bit more like this. I'm not sure if this was the most clever thing to do. But it's okay. I think I'm going to just leave it like that. One doesn't need to include all of these factory-only resources onto the main line, but when it goes straight through, it might be easier to do it like that. Of course, here, this livestock only goes into, it's only needed by tours, but then still goes straight through, so just put it in there. Important always to look at the actual lines on the tracks that I'm laying, so that I see that they have a minimum of incline and also that they have the maximum speed. Now that these locomotives in this early 19th century is so slow that they don't necessarily need the maximum speed. They can't travel maximum more than a maximum of 50 kilometers anyways. So that means that I could have made this a little sharper, this curve here, without losing out on anything, but still, it is so nice to have the max. And now a new zone, same here. Really can't build it all the way there, but then I can expand this a bit further. Now we're starting on laying a new. Now we completed this first circular zone here, and I'm going to build a new one up here to the north. Going straight for Lille, skipping that corner resource that is sort of out of the way. Now this seems to be a little odd. So here I have to remake this. That was too sharp an incline. Looking at the two cities, perhaps sorry, not inclined, but curved. Then it seems to be a little odd there, but then we can remove this, and then we have a nice track. And then comes up some of these tumbles, and they are easy to remove by just dragging a little bit around there. One should perhaps avoid tunnels as much as possible. And now for Brussels. Brussels is kind of way up here, but I want it to be much further down. Normally I would have to connect these cities first before I can build another connect the stations first before I can connect another, but when I'm with open sandbox mode, then I don't have to do it. I can just keep on placing stations. Freely, like this. Okay, I think that's okay. Now one can see I always place stations outwards, because if I were to place them from facing inwards, that will often make for a problem, as one can see if I were to lay these tracks, and perhaps this is the best example, but I'll show that later on. If one is placing them inwards and then making more and more laying more and more tracks, these curves around the stations, they will become more and more sharp, and that will make it so that these gridirons become very long. One should avoid long gridirons. It's very cheap and very beneficial to lay many parallel tracks. Parallel tracks, we can see the cost now, 121,000 credits for this one. And then for the next one, they're pretty much the same, but that has to do with the also having to build new expand the stations a bit. But now, for the third set, that might not be so easy, because this will come in here, and I rather want the station to be more out here like this. So that makes for a little problem. That can be that is actually going to be quite hard. So I will not make for I cannot build a new zone here right now. You can see that this will be awkward. This will be too tight. But I can rather than build a new zone, let's say here, and still have three zones that we can show the setup a little bit better. So how this is going to be setting up the three zones. But of course it would have been nice with Paris once again, but then at the very start, when these cities are so small, it might be difficult to have that many stations neatly placed apart in one city, to have all of the three stations. Let's see here now. This And it's going to be a little hard to include this. But I think I'm gonna do that anyways. So now that we make this nice. Yeah, that's going to be okay. It's also important not to build these stations too close to the riverbanks, because tracks they need a little bit of space between the riverbanks and the actual platforms, or else one might end up having really high plants. So that's also one thing to take into account. Then Gridirons, awkwardly placed, so then I think I move that station. This is a little exploitative, of course, and I showed this in one of my other videos. It's one of those tips that can be used in order to make for smoothing curves. Long tunnel here, but that can be avoided. Simply like this, a little bit of incline, but 2%, and that is not very much. Still, with our old locomotives, that will be okay. Then I think we're going to include we're going to include Luxembourg. Yeah, we're going to include Luxembourg as well. It's important that these zones aren't too big either. There should be about 4 cities. 3 cities is okay, and 5 cities okay too. But 6 cities, that is too much, and 2 city clusters, I don't know, is that even a cluster? So one needs to have a little bit, but not too much. Now I think I'm going to cheat a little bit there, but not too much. Important to watch that green arrow and see that the station actually picks up this resource a little bit further now, and then it doesn't pick it up. And needs to have this green set of arrows so that it actually picks up the resource, or else you wouldn't really benefit from that station. It is possible, of course, also to build stations in the middle of nowhere. Just use them as the hub for a hotel station, but that isn't really needed. And now I can make it go through this livestock resource again, but then there aren't much need for that, so I will just stick on that. The livestock resource, this is already included on the other circle. And now I set up three nice circles that can communicate in between each other. You can have a warehouse set up here in Paris, and one can have one here at Rams, and then they can go back and forth and export and import the resources from each other. Of course, there are some resources left out in the middle, and what to do about them. And then there are several options. One can, of course, just simply, like here at Lille, one can make a quick connection instead of a docking station, like this, and then just let it go straight there. That one will only need approximately a single line going in like this. But see now what happened. Now I built it so that the first track that I lay is the widest one, and then they become sharper and sharper all the time if I lay more and more of this. And that makes for so that this gridiron becomes enormously long, because I sort of had to wait for it to be even enough inclined. So this is one of the important reasons why never to start with the with the widest one. Always start with the narrowest and make them go wider and wider. So I think I'm going to build this the opposite way, like this. Maybe a little bit further. And then also always build the stations in the same direction, like this. So, and when I first so down now. So now, even though I just want two of these, I can expand upon it later. So now let's take care of that. But here in this circle, the Rams, Dion, Nancy, Luxembourg circle, that is so big. So then perhaps I would like to have sort of a cross here in between, and then I could make for a cross from let's say, like to include this resource up here. And of course I need to include this resource. Yeah, okay. Maybe if I put up this here and lay a nice little track in between these two. Now I have to start at the innermost here. A little sharp curve, but that isn't so important because none of my trains at this point they can travel at that speed anyways. So that would be okay. And then I can have one here facing in the same direction. And now that I built that one, I can add this upon there. This is sort of a clever way of making sure that all of the resources are included. to build for a little, what I refer to as a hotel cross in between. Now we can make for a hotel here later on. Like this. Might have a double included this wool resource, but yeah, okay. But this is okay. Now I managed to include all of the resources left out in the middle of this circle, this zone, and also made sure that they are connected extra. And then I can do the same here. Make for a cross. Let's see what that is going to go from which is if this should be included. Perhaps include not Paris, because I had this other idea for Paris that it should perhaps have another station somewhere else. So then let's say now if I go from maybe build something like this, see if that works out. Then there is a tunnel here to be avoided. Like this. Now I see that now that I'm making them tighter and tighter, I'm going to remove that over there, and the same here. That of course now I have to prioritize, but I think the one down here at Taurus will be the tightest one. So now I have to avoid that. Ensure that they are all on maximum. Checking that this was okay with the Gridirons. No super long ones. Yeah, that will be okay. And now see if I can include Orleans as well. Might be a little tight. Can of course drag it out just to make absolutely certain. Drag it a bit like this, making sure that the Gridirons are okay. One should always use the Gridirons, because that means that trains in both directions can use each other's platforms, and the clogging up of trains are pretty much always at the stations. So then to have access to different platforms to choose from makes for much less waiting time, because the waiting time is usually at the stations. So see, perhaps I could make it like this, yes, and go from here. And then this enormous tunnel here should be avoided. Better make it so, perhaps, yes. I'm checking that this isn't colliding anyway. No, it is not. So, now, nice little hotel cross in here. Nice little hotel cross in here. Unfortunately, I would have liked to build this line here all the way to the ramps, but there just isn't enough stations left. I used all three stations here, so then mm, that's not really gonna cut it. Could of course have used taking this up to Luxembourg instead. Perhaps I should do that. Now this is too sharp. I placed it a little awkwardly, and should I make for a tunnel here, or can I go over? I think I can go over like this. And now I can free up this station, and it wouldn't really be practical building a cross here in the middle, or would it? Perhaps. Yes. No, I think I'm gonna skip on that and rather just make a line. You can use some lines too. Lines are a little perhaps too easy, but sometimes it can be used simply like this. And now I think I made for a great system. Three clusters, three circular zones, and then with a line here in between Lil and Rams, and a cross here in this easternmost circle, and also a cross here in the westernmost circle. And the next thing that I will do now is to rename all the cities, the stations rather. The cities cannot be renamed. So this Osser here is Osser, and I'll name it after the direction that they are placed in. So this will be Osser West, and this is Osser East. And then with all of these stops and such, I just simply remove it. It becomes so much text on the screen that I'm sort of getting entirely confused sometimes. So it's better to try to keep it simple. When all of them are stations, of course. So then if I simply just call it Caron and not Caron train station, I still remember that it is a train station because it is all about train stations. So no need to have all that extra. And so then I made it all, and then having a look at this, we see that this looks very orderly, very nice. Not too much text on the screen, but all of these stations are now very neatly named. And the next step on the list is to lay all of these gridirons. That might take a little bit of time. This should be as short as possible, because in practice they make two lines become one. So this is very long. There will be a very long path there where two tracks are more or less considered as one. And what we will achieve by laying this gridiron is that we can trains coming from both directions, and we will have three set of trains to one express line in each direction, and then we will have one mixed line in each direction, and then they can both use the same platforms. There will be two platforms, and very often they will be clogging up around the stations, so this should be avoided. And then I think that's about the last gridiron. Having a little check here, see that all of the yellow parts of the lines are where they are supposed to be. Mustn't miss out on any of this. If I do miss out on just one or two, there might be a lot of extra delays around the station that could have easily been avoided. So now I think this is okay. And then next step is to set up signaling. Use the automatic signaling. I mean, this manual signaling, it takes absolutely forever, and it's I don't have the patience for that. It might be better, but then to go about and just alternate this. You can see that I only use the smallest gridirons. They are usually the best. So then to use just these two gridirons, and then to go for alternating signaling like this. I think that is the easiest and simplest and the most effective solution. And then I try to make it so that they all are alternating the same way. Of course, these two tracks there, they're not the same, but still I like to make this as orderly as possible and have them alternating all of the time. And make sure that when this outermost here, this one, the leftmost, is going downwards, then this should be downwards as well. So making a proper system makes easier for the trains, and also less confusion for yourself, and not to end up being entirely confused by this game might be the absolute best strategy there is. The main antagonist in many ways in Railway Empire 2 is your own confusion, your own disability to understand what you have already built in this great open world sandbox game. But with the circles now, at least one can see now that when this one is in this alternating pattern, the innermost is going up, say, then it should meet here and it should be the same on the opposite side. So then this looks good. And here I think this one should start up and down like this. And then I think we got the last one of the signals in place. Having a look around and see that everything is lively, everything is moving here, and everything is alternating and alternating in the same manner. So now we have completed most of our track laying setup. Don't take all that much of the time if we'll just do this very systematically. See that we have all the gridirons in place, only using this number of tracks, and then alternating up and down, up and down, up and down with these signals. And then one should remember the supply depots. If one is running out of money, which I am not because I'm in open sandbox, we might actually wait a little bit by building this supply depots, but then of course it's better to just have them laid right away. Here, this might be too small, too short. You shouldn't build the supply depots too close to the gridirons, so I think I'm just gonna skip on that. They should build pretty much in the middle to make sure that there aren't any clogging up. That is also one of those things that if here I think okay, that's just about correct. But if these are placed too close to the gridirons, then there might be mishaps. So best to place them in short there. Have one there instead. Is really long. This one perhaps. This one can have two. Sometimes I have an extra one as well. Here I think let's do this just go on. Is this too close? Yes, a little too close. And then I will have two ones there. And then if the curve, I often place the gridirons, the supply depots at the curves, because at the curves they are going to slow down. The trains are going to slow down a bit anyways, and then it doesn't. It's better to build supply depots where they are slowing down anyways, because they often have to slow down as they pass the gridirons, and of course they have to slow down as they supply. So often build them at these curvy points, but they have to be in the middle. That's the most important part, as far away from the gridirons as possible. And that I think pretty much takes care of that. And now there are some resources that have been left outside, and they can be hooked on like this. Now I only have laid 3 tracks. Often I actually have laid a full 8, but now there is room for adding on this outside of the circle resources, simply by doing this. And one great thing about not using all of the tracks is that if I now had built a full 8 here, there wouldn't be any extra room for this one, and then I will have used all my stations already. But now I can add a new station here at Cannes, which I am going to direct through this sugar resource. and also through the milk here, and all the way up to Lille, like this. Maybe build a 4-liner. I think I'm gonna go for a 6-liner. So I have this idea of having one set of mix and one mix, one express, and one freight line to kind of show how they can all go together. This bridge could be a little shorter, but I don't care so much. Bridges are very cheap actually in Railway Empire 2. In reality, building a bridge, a train bridge, is really a big endeavor, and often that it should be avoided. But in Railway Empire, they are not all that expensive, but more expensive than regular lines. Oh, I forgot about this check for the tunnel. To build a little bit of a tunnel. It's not such a big problem, actually, makes for the better tracks. But sometimes it is a bit problematic with the tunnels. One might not we will look at that later. But there are some quirks to the tunnel building. And now there is room for an extra one here, bringing in the livestock. It's a little curvy here, but then it is okay because I'm so early in the game that the trains are so slow anyways. Then I can build a little docking station here. And when I build a docking station, I simply refer to them as docks. This is Brussels dock, and by naming it like that, I remind myself that this takes no passengers. Perhaps I can even include, is there a need for sugar down here? Yes, there is really another need for sugar. And then these two can be now docking for both sugar and wool. But of course, wool only goes into Brussels, but the sugar is being imported to the entire circle. And then what I would do now, I will set up 2 different lines. One line going from the wool resource into Brussels dock, having a minimum of 8 wagons. And I could use, since it's so small in the beginning, I could use the cheapest freight train. We'll use this for this lines that are often, they are, one train is too much, so it's enough. And both of these can use the same, both of these lines can use the same stations here. There's no need to build, to expand this Brussels dock further on, because there's just one train in each direction, and they often are waiting at No, I haven't reached warehouse technology yet. That is sort of important. Warehouses. Oh, and I haven't reached hotel tech either yet. Oh, that is actually kind of a little mishap. But okay, with this hotel crosses, and this was kind of a bad starting out there. There should have been hotels here in the middle, but now I cannot build those hotels because I'm too early in the game and I don't want to restart this video all over. But in general, when one will have access to the hotel technology, and then one will have hotels built in the middle. But at least we have the warehouse tech. But of course, those crosses that are made in the middle, they are made for hotels. It takes a long time to make these videos, so I don't know if every person watching YouTube really appreciates how much work it takes. So, and then of course one does all these silly little mistakes, and then there are all these complaints about people not understanding what you're saying, what you're doing, and then saying people try to make them over again. But you just have to bear with me. These little lines like this, they're often smart to just set up right away, or else one will forget. So can that be done like this? And now very soon we are anyways approaching the point in the game where we will set up the rest of the actual lines that will go on here. Let's see, are there any other resources? Yes, there down at Gridirons. Back there. Oh, that's a long tunnel that could have easily been avoided. And now, actually, I can still, even though I have to come from two different directions, I can still use the same, like this. This is sort of a little clever tip here. If there isn't too much traffic, one can add them upon the same here, same tracks together. I don't do that so often because it tends to plug up traffic, but the reason that I couldn't set up this lines was because I forgot the gridirons. But now, see. That's that one, and then the other, looking almost tunnel. Okay. Any more? Yes. And here. Doesn't really need the wall. Now, let's see. Are those all the resources that I want to include at this point? Yes. So then, of course, one could just keep on expanding this rail network pretty much for eternity, but I think that time has come. The video has been long enough. Time has come for us to set up the actual lines and stop laying more tracks here. This should be renamed into North Station, and then this will be, this is a central one. So now, starting one here in Paris, going all the way around like this, including all the stops. I just do that the first way, and then we can refer to this as, I use the two stations the most far apart, so then it's like, let's call it Paris Rennes. And then we could set up a mixed line using our best train like this. I think we do that first, and then the number of trains. There should be, say, the duration divided by 3. That should be pretty good number of trains. One should also look at the number of stations. The more stations, the more trains you can put it on. But say, I think that 12 will do fine here. And when I first set up one like this, I don't bother to do this again. So I go in here and I copy this. And I give it the same name. Paris Rennes number 2, in order to avoid the total confusion. But I want it now to go in the opposite direction. And how to do that? Well, one can take the lowermost and the highermost and kind of, if one changes it like this, and if one can just keep, and ta-da! Now it's moving in the opposite direction. That's kind of a magical trick. Don't want to spend more time than necessary on this repetitive tasks. Now that I have one in each direction, I just copy them, give them proper names, this one being the number 3, having an equal amount of lines, but then of course this one needs to be in the next set of lines, the tracks, like this. And then I take this one, copy that, and this one will be the number 4. It should be in this on this track. And then there should be 3 set of trains. Number 5. And it's important to keep track where are we in the arcade now. That's number 6. It should be in the outermost set, like this. And then, of course, a little checking here to see that they all are in each other tracks. that they're not conflicting with each other. Each have their own settled track, and everybody just going round and around, always in the same direction, one clockwise and one counterclockwise. A little different story with these trains here. Of course, they are just moving back and forth like this. I also need to include the middlemost stop where there should have been a hotel, and unfortunately cannot show, but still, one can bear with me. One can remember that this will be a hotel cross. Now I have one here. It says that you can't do anything there yet, but then they will do something there later as they set up these warehouses. That they will have something to do. And then one can copy this. And actually I can, if I now delete this stop, then I will have the Orleans written for me. And then I can add this there. And how many trains should we have? 6, yeah. The cities now are so, of course, so small that there is no point in having the maximum amount of trains, but then I set it up with the maximum amount that should be. And now you can see I switched the waypoints so that they are using each other's track. And the way that I do it is that I go in at the last, at the first stop, and then straight after the last stop, in between the last stop and the first stop, I put up a waypoint there so that they're no longer conflicting. And I think I actually forgot to make the number of trains there, like this. Yeah. And they're not performing any tasks. That's really. They're performing other tasks. And then there is one from Ren on to Tor. Takes a bit longer, so I think we can have 7 trains there. And then copy that one. And it shows it. This is the last stop, number 4. And here, and then we go and put it so that it comes in here. Last stop, 7 trains. Like this. And now I might not want to have mixed trains on which one. So then some of these trains can be switched into I know I forgot to name them properly. This of course should be number 2, and the same with this. You cannot have the same names on lines. The lines need to have unique names, but then if you don't put up your own unique names, the game will just name them number 1, number 2, number 3, and then I rather use the Roman numericals. But anyways, here I like to have some express trains. Then I use the one without the waypoint because that is the fastest route. Taking the Firefly, Express only, and then perhaps we can have some technology here. Yes, we can add on this. Now we can add on. Of course, if it is an express train, one should use the dining and the mail cart. And then it says that there isn't anything to do here at Ran, and that is of course good for me. Enough not to include the hotel technology. I forgot about that. And so this express like this. Yes, that seems to be nice. Then I can do the same here with making these into express lines. Then one can see now that if I choose the Firefly Express, and now there are a lot of these stations where there really aren't anything to do. There is no point in putting up a hotel here either. So then I can remove those, and then I can perhaps remove a couple of these trains as well, having a little fewer trains, and simply set it up like this. I can do that. They come in pairs now. There's one clockwise and one counterclockwise, and these are sort of the same lines because they need to have lines that are going in each direction, of course. And then the outermost perhaps should be flipped into, I don't know. If normally I would just use the automatic trains for most purposes, but then for the sake of showing different lines, I can have freight lines here. Now the game prioritizes freight goods before they prioritize express goods, but still sometimes one can have several express lines, and then one will rather want the passengers to use the express lines. And this kind of setup here with one pair of freight lines, one pair of mixed lines, and one pair of express lines, that is in many ways it's a good setup. It shows how things can be done properly, and you have sort of you're using all options. Here it seems that I have forgotten to lay the signaling. I have to take care of that. It's always something that one forgets. But between Lil and Khan, like this, setting up mixed lines first, and then since I've forgotten to do this. Now it is fine. The hair as well. There's so many things to remember in this game, so it's hard to keep up with all of them. And then how many trains should there be? Say you put on 8. And then we can simply just copy this. And put it on the right lane. And of course, this is not a circular track, so then it goes back and forth. So then there will only be 3 lines there, and not the 6. Let's see, did we make this nice now? Yes. And then the first one can be an express. And then we can skip on this other stations, and then one can put on the special wagons, and then one can turn this one into a freight only in order to keep in style. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the exact same thing with all of the other zones here, the other zones, and then we will come back after that and look at how the warehouses and stations extensions should be set up. All of these zones will be set up in a similar manner, of course. And okay, then I think this should be it. I think we have set up all of the lines. Might be that I have forgotten something, but then we will come back to that later as we check this system. just make note that these express trains, they go through this hotel stations here in the middle, and I made a little bit of a mistake. I haven't reached the hotel technology, so I can't really build hotels, but just keep in mind that this is a hotel cross. So there should of course have been a hotel here at Bernard, and then one at Duran as well. There should have been hotels there. Just keep that in mind. But one cannot make for hotels before 1840, I think. So a quick look and see that all these two are going in the same track. Then I take the one that are not the express train, the more regular train, and put that in the next line. And it seems that I have forgotten to do some signaling here, like this. Make the game run for a little. See that everything is. Now this is actually not the right waypoint. It should be going into the first station when it comes for when it has completed its tour. But anyways, keep getting these warnings that they have nothing to do at Banan, but of course that is due to not being a hotel there. Now the next set, that I have set up all of these nice lines here, giving them proper names. Of course there are a lot of them, there are 40, but very many of them are sort of the same. There are these Rams level 1, Rams level 2, Rams level 3, 4, 5, 6, and then perhaps a little unfortunate, but this line here is also a Rams level, and then I just refer to that as Rams level X or 10 in Roman numerals, and then 11 to sort of distinguish them from the ones that are going round or round. But now we need to set up warehouses and extensions, and I'm not quite sure where I'm going to need all the warehouses, but I set up the extensions first anyway, and then I'm going to use the post offices. I think they are a little bit better than the Heaven should have been a hotel, but instead of a hotel I'm going to use restaurants. Restaurants, just they're kind of, they just imagine that they are actually hotels. Restaurants are hotels. And then this doesn't pop up until I unpause the game, unfortunately. But then, anyways, and no need for a station extension here. There's just one train, and then it will have a maintenance depot here. So some of these stations, these resource only pickup stations, they will not have any extensions. But here on this, there will be extra good maintenance depots with dispatch halls, and on all of these rural stations that are sort of connected. Here at Brussels, I know that I'm going to use a warehouse for sugar, because there is one here at the Brussels dock that is picking up sugar, and then I want the sugar here to go into the Brussels dock and then further on to the main line. And I know this in advance. But otherwise, then I have to sort of check with the with the flow of goods what is needed. And here I know that I'm going to use the salt resource. I want that to go onto the line, and then there needs to be salt. That was Brussels, but say Cannes is going to have salt, and then yeah, I think I'm going to put up a warehouse there for salt. It might be used for other things as well. On this middle more, it might be better to just have a post office. Post offices are really really nice. Then this one is one of those resource only. That's a resource only. Here, I might go for a post office to begin with, because I'm not certain that I'm going to use a warehouse there. And often on this inner model, the hotel cross lines, there aren't so much need for exchanging goods. It's mostly the outermost, either the ones that pick up goods, like this one, that picks up corn and wheat, or the hotel stations that exchange these goods that need warehouses. Here there should have been a hotel, but I could have a restaurant instead. And then here on the resource, here there can be an extra good maintenance depot. Here there can also be an extra good maintenance depot with this threshold. Resource only. Maintenance depot here as well. Here as well. Most of them are these maintenance depots, and I'm really digging on maintenance depots. Need a lot of maintenance to keep everything running nice. Here there is a resource coming in, but that resource is meant for that city only, so it doesn't go on to the main line. And then I put up maintenance depots in most cities. I could have used, perhaps I'm using too many maintenance depots, but I'm not sure. I don't think you can really have enough maintenance depots. This should be called Central, and then this should be called West. Checking that it's okay. And then here I think I'm going to use, I want to pick up the corn, and then there should have been perhaps there as well. So we're going to check more on that later. We're going to go and have a look at the flow of goods chart. Then everything will become much clearer. Here we're going to pick up at least milk and salt. Here I think I'm just going to go for the post office. And maintenance, more maintenance. There we are picking up some lumber. Here we can go for the post office, I think. More maintenance. And post office. Keep in mind that this is just preliminary setup, and that here, for example, I know pretty much in advance that I'm going to use Paris as an interchange thing. I don't really know, can't figure out yet which goods that should be interchanged, but I'm quite certain that there will be some interchanging in Paris, because Paris is the most central station, and also picking up corn, peas, like a lot of stuff as well, and rams as well. And it's also one of those really interchanging stations, where there at least should be a warehouse there. And you just have to see later on what can be what should be done here. I'm not quite certain. Yeah, I think at least the corn should go in there. Then more maintenance. I have built 55 stations just so far, so that it needs to become a little bit messy, but we're trying to keep this as orderly as possible. And I think that Taurus is the last. 1. So then, there we got it. And now comes the final and most perhaps important part. See which zones are containing the resources that they need and which one needs to have extra import. You can see here that all of these zones, the western, the central, and the eastern zone, all containing all of the wheat that they need. But then there is a little extra line here. And then perhaps since this is so close, and since there already are, it's so close to a wheat resource, sorry, then um, perhaps there should be some wheat also exported into Lille. That would be about the same distance. So that could be a little bit extra for Lille, and also a short route onto yeah. I think if we actually could put up a warehouse here, I was a little bit demolishing this, but then now um, now wheat is going extra fast to Orléans. It's a little long route to go all the way around. Now we can be picked up by a triple warehouse there and sent into to all of the nice places. 3 wheat resources down here in the east, so that they will take more care of themselves. No need to have everybody has what they need. There is no so much need for export and import of wheat or grain. When it comes to corn, westernmost have the corn. There are corn here in the middle, and there really isn't. There is, yeah. Okay, we can have corn here as well, but certainly, and then corn here, but certainly no corn here. That one must keep in mind. Now everything looks orderly. It comes in corn from 2 places into Rams. But if I were now to set up corn here as well, and this is the super duper fantastically important thing to keep in mind, one cannot have it like this. One cannot have 2 zones, 2 clusters and series that are containing the same resource, interchanging that same resource back and forth between zones, because now this corn resource here south of Lille is trying to supply Lyon, Auxerre, Nancy, and everybody in the eastern region, while the 2 corn resources here in the east, they are simultaneously trying to supply, say, Paris. And that makes for a mess. That makes for wares to come in and go out at the same time. And that makes for a mess. That cannot be done. One must be very, very, very careful about that. A lot of people say there is some bugs, so things that aren't working in the whereby you find most of this warehouse setup. It is no flaws. It is no programming error when it comes to these warehouses. It all has to do with this, that you must build these clusters, the zones, and make sure that if the zone is self-contained, it should not import from another zone. It is pretty much as simple as that, but one really must make that clear, and it took me some time to figure out that's the basic rule, but that is really the basic rule, and one must keep that in mind. But anyways, now everybody has their own corn and they have their own grain, so then it goes for lumber. There are lumber here down into in the western parts, and there are lumber here at the eastern parts, but there aren't any lumber in the middle. And then I could perhaps want to take, say, wood Paris there and set up a warehouse here, and then move the lumber in. And now one can see now the westernmost part are exporting their lumber into the middle parts there up to Lille. But now I cannot. I would perhaps like, but that both of these zones could perhaps import into the middlemost part. Then I can set up lumber here as well. And this might actually work for some time, but only until this region have more or less fulfilled their demands. But one can see now this is crisscrossing. Now everybody is trying to supply everybody, and this doesn't work. Not in the long run, at least, or at least it might really make for some bad things happening. So perhaps what I would rather do is to turn off this here at Paris, rather use that for something else, and then I could have one here instead, because I have this extra line. And now this westernmoor rubber, it can at least go into Lille on this line, this extra auxiliary line that goes between Lille and Cannes, and then I could have this rubber resource there exporting onto the entire zone. So now they're a little bit, both of them are supplying the middle zone, but from different systems that are conflicted. Meat, there is meat neatly placed all over, so there is absolutely no need to pay from a warehouse for meat. Same with beer, there is also neatly placed on all circles. Wool just goes straight into the weaveries, and we can see that the weaveries, they have what they need, they're all getting the wool that they're needing. And also that there are weaveries in each of the 3 zones. It's very nice when you think of building these zones, if you keep this in mind, that you should try not to, it's better to have them self-contained than to have them relying on import. So if one builds a zone that has that can rely on itself, that is of course much better. And one can see here now that the western circle has its sugar, the eastern gets its sugar through the Brussels warehouse, and here down in the east, then there is, if you just put up a warehouse there, then we can get the sugar into the rest of the line. One could also perhaps put up, remove the maintenance depot here, and then have sugar being distributed through a hub here in the middle, and see how that goes. So now that sugar comes on to all of these different stations like this, and thereby using the central cross structure more. Very often these circles going round and around, they fill up really easily, and then try to put more traffic onto the inner, the innermost cross structure. And we looked at the weaveries. With milk, there are milk here at Luxembourg, and there are milk on this line here, and then this line, it can serve both the circles, both the middle more, and also the then we can have a little, we already have the warehouse there, we can put something there as well, and then we can have down here a ton. Like this, and now we can see that of course this zone is that it's milk coming in. We can again use the now that we made this the central hub, and we can use that for both salt and milk filtering. So that salt and milk is being particularly neatly distributed. Like this, you can see now the milk. okay, it doesn't really show that this warehouse hub is being used, but it might be used still. And then the milk here between these zones, we're going to get really busy, but it will supply both of these middlemost and the westernmost circles. Vegetables, there aren't really that many vegetables. Some here. Put that over to the western borderline. See that it takes care of the west. And then there is one here. I might want to build. I was a little dumb of me not building that right away, but I can still kind of hook it on like this. Might not be the perfect setup, but you know, can't be perfect first time around all the time. And now but now we can't have this 8. And now we must rather rely on a better locomotive and perhaps even have 2 locomotives for this important task. We can have perhaps a minimum of 4 wagons before it leaves the station. I'm not so quite certain. Perhaps it should just go back and forth. We have to see that. I'll make another video about how many trains to set up. But most of the time we just have to trial and error a bit and see if they're going back and forth without any load, then one can reduce this. But at least now one can have some vegetables coming in. So now vegetables are on the eastern path and also on the westernmost, and then I think we're going to use the same trick again. Put up vegetables here, and here, and now they go to Lille, and then Rams and Paris are getting what they need, but still one can also have a little bit of vegetables here to go into the actual middle zone. So one can see here now how this works out. Several of these cities are now getting vegetables from several different places. Then fruit. There is fruit here in the west, the east. Sorry. That fruit can go into Rams. Also perhaps here on see what we have here really. And then we could have same trick here. There is fruit in the middle there, but now I'm running out of those spaces. There aren't so many things that one can export and import, but luckily there aren't so many resources left either. And this video was set up to an end. We'll see another setup in the same manner, importing from the east onto the middle zone, but I'm also importing from the west onto this line that goes to Lille, and that will be further extended into Brussels if I so were to choose. And now, since we are so very early in the game, there aren't any fashion factories, plank factories, liquor, dairy products. There's only this salt left. And then there is a salt resource here that goes on to the western zone and also to Lille. And then there is one in Luxembourg that can be transferred to Rams if there still are a room, and luckily there is. like that. So now everything seems to be working. Took a little bit of time to explain all of this, but I hope it was explanatory. I think I'm gonna quit here before my voice entirely quits on me. So, but then hopefully this was explanatory. One can leave some comments if there was something unclear. But this is at least my way of setting up clusters of cities, making the lines easy. Using a lot of this copying and modifying lines to make it faster and more orderly, perhaps. Setting up the trains with good names and a proper order, not to be entirely confused. Changing the names is a very good practice when one does computer programming. And in many ways, Railway Empire is about computer programming and logistics. It's just a more fun way to do it than to be working at a proper ordinary job. But it is very much the same. Keeping in mind that I made a little mistake, there should have been hotels here, Bernard and Duran, but as soon as one reaches that technology, one can set that up. And also remember to give good names to all of the stations. Naming them, giving them short names, but also naming them after the different directions that they are facing. And always remember to build the stations outwards. We want to build the circular zones, build them so that they're facing out of the circle. But anyways, one can feel free to like and subscribe. That will make me very happy, and leave some comments. And I just want to say enjoy the game, and goodbye, and hope to see you next time around.